Alright, now it is REC on my end. 5 seconds in. Okay. Let's see how it looks. Okay, that's looking good. That's looking good as well. Phone. Testing the sound. Testing. Gain 10. Crank up the gain. Gain 15. Looking good, sounding good. Let's do like gain 12. Not in the red zone. Good. Alright. Awesome. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go with the gain of 12 is fine. Alright. So this is good. That is working
Alright, you sitting
perfectly. Alright. So I'm sitting here.
Alright.
Notes.
Recording.
Tremendous.
I'm turning this on.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
We're recording. We don't have to start right now, but everything is on.
Okay. So that's great.
Okay.
All right, great. So welcome to episode number something. So we'll get the numbers down later on. So yeah, but today it's a pleasure together with Jacob.
It's great. It's
Nice
always
to
good.
see you.
It's always good to see you all. Right.
Awesome. So yeah, and then in this episode we're going to bring to you some fundamental, I think, information about health and fitness. So later on we'll give you some additional information about checking out Jacob's new project. Or how old is it right now? Like about a year?
It's 1
on
year
Top
old.
Fitness?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 1 year old. I started it. I was barreling down it, and then life happens as usual. You graduate college. You're looking for a
Exactly.
job. You adjust to the job. Then life happens. Projects happen. So it's always something that I'm going to keep working on and keep chipping away at, which is why it's good to start now instead of starting later. Because when you start later, you're going to have to figure everything out from square one. But when you start now, it'll give you that time that instead of starting from 5 years, even if you slowly move along, you still have 5 years of working on it. You have a much greater idea what to expect, what the challenges look like, what needs to be done, rather than starting 5 years later and then only then learning these are the challenges, this is what needs to be done, these are the things that you must figure out.
Oh yeah, exactly. So yeah, that project, you can check it out. So you are present now on social media, right? On Instagram
Just on
mostly?
Instagram.
Okay, great. So yeah, started with that platform, so that's a tremendous idea. So yeah, but now let's kind of like get into kind of like more of the chronological order, I would say. So yeah, we're talking about the importance of starting kind of like right. And then the first thing I think, which I wanted to get your insights on, is the health, right? So yeah, speaking like from the perspective of the person who is, let's say, who has not been paying attention to health and fitness, right? So they were just kind of floating around, and now they just get into this kind of situation, right? When they want to become more healthy and more fit, right? So yeah, maybe there's some sort of motivation or something dawned on them. Okay, well, I need to do that. So where do they start? So what's kind of like the first things that they need to keep in mind or start doing?
Well, the first thing that you could do if you're starting to change your health and fitness practices
Yes.
is first by showing up.
Okay.
Showing up on whether it's just going to the gym. You don't necessarily need to work out. Expose yourself to the environment. You need to start breaking the habits that you already have.
Exactly.
Someone who's already been living their life, working, going out, seeing friends, they have their habits. We're creatures of habit. If you're starting to get these thoughts in your head of maybe I want to start working out, maybe I want to start bettering myself physically, it's very difficult to break these habits because the habits that you've had haven't necessarily posed problematic issues to you to the point where it's causing you to severely reevaluate. sometimes the most dramatic changes of people who are like severely obese, and then now 2 years later they're shredded and jacked.
Yes.
They reached a point where if they don't make severe changes, they'll die. So they're essentially running away from death. But from someone who's kind of just maybe has a little bit of extra weight that they've never seemed to kind of take off, it slowly chips away at them. And if they're really genuine on making changes, it starts with baby steps. Show up. Watch YouTube videos. The power of social media is severely underestimated, and it's severely misused. The amount of time people spend on social media wasting away, kind of just mindlessly scrolling. I always thought of this analogy with social media. If you were scrolling through your feed versus you were just scrolling through a white screen on your phone, or if your phone was just off, and you were just sitting there with your thumb twiddling for however long you were on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, what you got from that session, would there be any difference if your phone was just off and you just sat there scrolling with your thumb? Because half the time we're on those social media apps, your brain is just like literally just shut off. It just shuts off.
Okay.
If you take the intention to really pay attention on what accounts you follow, what information pops up on your feed, you need to make the algorithm work for you instead of working for the algorithm. The algorithm wants to feed you. It wants your attention.
Right.
It wants to show you this and show you that to keep you hooked on it. You can work the algorithm to make it show you things that you're interested in. So with On Top Fitness, I make it a point to only look at fitness-related things. Fitness-related things. Food, philosophy, all things that feed the brain and feed the muscles.
Exactly.
Anytime I see something that isn't really related to fitness, I try to say not interested, do not show.
Okay.
That way I make my broad spectrum algorithm trying to feed me all this crap to just one thing, and that's fitness only.
Okay.
So anytime I switch to On Top Fitness on my Instagram, it only is showing me fitness related, mental related, health related things.
Yeah, with social media, so I think what was happening in my case, I found myself at some point in a situation when I was spending way too much time on something that was not necessarily useful for me, so I decided to start with setting just the time limits for the usage of certain apps such as Instagram, Snapchat, whatever else it might be, right? So I said, well, it's going to be maybe like 1 hour a day, not more, and then after that, kind of like shuts off.
Yep.
Right, so that was my first step, just to kind of like be conscious about that, because for me also it was a little bit of the paradigm shift. So when I was thinking about, okay, well, life is finite, so we're all going to die at some point and stuff like that, right? So then if you think about that broadly, let's say you have some years of your life, right? There are some number of days, and then every day you spend, let's say, like a couple hours on end on Instagram, just kind of like mindlessly scrolling, as you were saying. So that's going to be a lot of time that is kind of like subtracted from your life, whereby you could have been doing something else. Yeah.
Anything else.
So yeah, that would be kind of like the first realization in my case. Oh yeah, it is finite, so I need to do something about my life to make it better, right? So okay, well, cut off the Instagram or the time that I spend on it. And but this kind of concept of tailoring the content is pretty nice. So yeah, I think I need to pay attention to what the algorithm feeds me.
We all need to do that.
Make the decisions.
When I started my new job, there were times, especially at the very beginning, where as the newbie, the rookie, the freshie, they don't really want you doing too much, just because with everything being so standardized, GMP, GDP, they're kind of just like, sit back and sit tight, you know? A certain operation needs to happen, you don't need to go in, just kind of hang out until we come back. So there was just hours and hours where I would spend time on my phone because there'd be nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So I would spend that time through Instagram, and that habitual habit of staying on Instagram, staying on switching, just make it through your cycle of apps on your phone to keep yourself entertained. Was happening at work, and then on my days off, that habit was kind of leaking and spilling over into my days off. And I'd walk into work on the next time I'd have to go in, infuriated that I would waste the days off doing nothing. And I'm wondering, it's that I'm not utilizing my time enough. It's that I feel like I'm burning away my time. And that made me realize that as a man, as a creature that is built, that is with a purpose to create.
Yes.
We're all built to create, whether a man or a woman. We all have biological incentives to create. We feel good when we do something, when to do work, when something wasn't there and now it is there. That releases the dopamine. It makes us feel good. That's literally what allows us to create skyscraping buildings, to create facilities like such as Amgen, where we're making medicine that is like you can't even begin to wrap your head around, but somehow we do it. So by just burning time, you're going against your own natural grain. We need to keep moving. We need to, and yes, we need to take breaks, but at the end of the day, humanity did not get to where we are by just kind of sitting around and waiting for time to pass. Do you remember when you were young and you had time to kill? You would be very bored. You would go look for something to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You would go on a walk. You would go do this. You would pick this up, go do that. Probably end up doing so you're not supposed to, out of curiosity.
Yeah.
In our day and age now, you just open Instagram.
Yeah.
Just hop on your phone. Wait for the next thing to pop up that will entertain you. And then we're starting to see all these weird things come up as a cause of that. Like just how I was saying, like I would just walk into work the next day super pissed.
Yes.
Because I was just kind of waiting around. I got into the habit of just waiting for the next thing to pop up when it would just never pop up. You ever find yourself just like tired after work and you're just glued to your phone? Just can't get off?
That's right. So that did happen to me in the past. So yeah, I should admit that it kind of like it became a habit. Okay, well, I have some downtime and then I don't have any limits on the usage of the social media, for example, and I would go to Instagram, so and then just like start scrolling and then liking the post, commenting maybe occasionally, things like that. So and then so that became kind of the easy substitute to some other activities which I should rather be doing, right? So something that would be kind of like more beneficial, right? And then what happened is that kind of there was it was kind of akin to withdrawal symptoms when you stop, for example, drinking alcohol, right?
Yep.
So now there is kind of this vacuum, right, of the activity, let's say, and now and your brain is kind of unhappy about this, right? So and then fundamentally, or at first you can ask yourself the question, oh, what should I do instead, right? So that's what was happening, and it was kind of strange to observe this, and kind of shocking as well how addicted I, for example, became to, let's say, social media. Okay, well, there are all those apps, right? Now I don't have access to them, and then what should I do with that?
Yep.
So yeah, but I should say that in my case, I kind of shamed myself into the using of the social media and wasting the time on the social media. And then now that kind of, even if I don't have my Instagram access or Snapchat access blocked, I can open it anytime.
Yeah.
So, but now I think what happened is that I kind of like developed this habit, or developed the enough willpower to just resist this urge of opening Instagram and then mindlessly scrolling that, and then I'm much better with this even without any like artificial time limits. So I don't have to have it, so I can open it anytime. Maybe as some quick message, for example.
Yeah.
Somebody sends me a message. I need to talk to that person, right? So that's kind of like more useful, hopefully, than just scrolling for Instagram. So yeah, and then I had to kind of find some substitute activities. So for me it was maybe take a walk, or I brought some kettlebells into my office and now I can do some kettlebell swings instead, or maybe use the kind of like wrist trainer, for instance. So it was something doable that was not requiring any Goliath strength and feats to do so, but it was much better. So now I keep kind of like thinking what else I can do to substitute and kind of like use the time more productively.
Well, I do want to bring up 2 points real quick. One point is going to be in regards to the kids' usage of social media, and then the other in regards is that social media is not all bad. We're painting a very dark picture of it, but it's all about how you use it. You know, just how I was saying earlier, like make the algorithm work for you. It is an excellent tool. Like you see some people, they're making 6-7 figures through their Instagram business.
Oh yeah.
So what is stopping from anyone like you or me or anyone else listening to this from using Instagram as a tool?
Yes,
like
that's
everything.
right.
It's about how you use it. What lens are you looking at?
Thankfully, a multifaceted tool. You can use it like different ways. So
Yes.
you can use it to destroy yourself, or maybe to build yourself up.
It's an amazing tool that allows you to connect with so many people around the world.
Yes.
There's guys who I follow who are from Australia.
Oh, nice.
You know,
Okay.
Vix Hawksley, I think that's his name. He is
Yes.
probably like my greatest role model when it comes to fitness.
Okay.
He is fucking huge. He's like 210, 220,
All right.
220, shredded, and he's super mobile. And not
nice.
only is
Yeah.
he super
Yeah.
mobile, but he's also very strong across his entire range of motion. He's heavy into the calisthenics where he could do all those like those front planche.
Yeah,
He can do
okay.
all those movements. He does muscle ups like crazy. He's very flexible throughout all his movements, and he's
okay.
jacked. That guy's gonna live very long.
Yes.
As long as nothing crazy happens to him, his body is in peak condition. It literally can't get any better because he's not. He is breaking the boundaries. He's not restricting himself.
Yes.
I felt when I first started getting into lifting, and I was like hitting it really hard, and I was starting to develop some muscle. I could feel my body tightening up. I could feel it tightening up. It's like because you're always sore. You don't want to move around too much. And you can only imagine how mobile those bodybuilders are. Those guys are kind of locked in their positions, only doing the basic movements for each muscle because their muscles kind of locked up. When your muscles are free, you become you literally become a superhuman athlete. You really do because you're quick on your toes, you're flexible, you're powerful, you have endurance, you have all of it.
Yes.
That's why I think it's so important for kids when they're young, when they're playing a lot of sports, like especially in high school. They're exposed to all these different methods of training. You know, they're exposed to endurance, they're exposed to power, they're exposed to awkward positions. But the one thing that they're not really exposing themselves to is hypertrophy and building muscle, getting bigger muscles to create more power. They're kind of relying all those other aspects except the actual most effective way of building muscle to create strength, to create power by using weights. When I was in high school, mentally I wasn't the greatest athlete. I had a lot to learn. However, all of my coaches told me that I was one of the best kids on the team solely because I was the biggest, I was the fastest, and I was the strongest.
Okay.
Because I had 2.5 years. I started working out going into sophomore year, junior year, whichever one. I started working out before anyone else in high school, by at least a year. So by the time like halfway through junior year, going into senior year, I started to make some gains, and it visibly showed, both aesthetically and on the field. And I feel like that holds a lot of kids back. That's what holds a lot of kids back. If they're trying to go D1 for whatever sport they're playing, the thing that will set them apart from their competitors is by actively hitting that weight room early. You don't have to train like a bodybuilder, but you need to hit that weight room to create that muscle because no one else their age is doing that. And anyone who is their age that is doing that is not really taking it too seriously. You take it as seriously as bad as you want to play D1, and that is what will set you apart.
Okay. So in your case, so that weight lifting regime, what was it like? So let's say how many days a week?
In high school,
Yeah.
I was working out every single day.
Every day, like it's like 7 days a week, right?
I would say 6 to 7 days a week.
Okay. So maybe there's like at max like one rest day. I'm always kind of like curious about like particular people's schedules.
So
that's gonna be
I don't follow the schedule anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
But I will go through my schedule in high school. I was working out every single day. My idea was every single day I have to break down a muscle. If I really didn't want to do it that day, I would just blast shoulders for 30 minutes. You know, I would just pick one muscle group, make one. The way I thought about it is that every time you're eating, you're feeding your body. If you don't have sore muscles, that replenishment, that healing, that nourishment that you're getting from your the protein from your food is not being fully utilized.
Okay.
I thought about it that every single day you have to put your body in a state that it can maximize the food that you're putting in it.
Okay.
So all the time you had to make sure that there was at least one muscle that was broken down that needed to be repaired.
Okay.
But I was working out 6 to 7 days. Sometimes I would take a day off, you know, just depending on whatever my schedule was. A lot of the times I was working out twice a day. Just because I had time. Just because in high school I would take personal fitness class.
Right.
And I was also allowed to work out during gym class, just because my teachers were like, well, obviously takes it seriously,
Yeah,
so why
yeah.
not?
Okay.
And then I would oftentimes work out after practice. It was common that my mom would pick me up from school
Right.
after 8 o'clock, because I would go to school. I would have my school day. There would be some time between practice or whatever game,
Okay.
and that would end at around 5, 6, and then I would just head straight to the weight room.
Okay.
And then I'd work out for a couple hours, and then my mom would pick me up. Granted, my grades suffered.
Okay.
My grades suffered because you come home and you're dead tired.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, like, as long as you're not trying to get into like an Ivy League school and you're not trying to make new medicine,
Yes.
high school, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
It's not everything.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the university. I got in the university, I started taking my grades a little bit more seriously.
Yes.
But that was after I learned how to establish a reasonable weightlifting schedule that was more effective, requiring less time and getting better results.
Okay.
So I was able to utilize that time I was able to make in my schedule towards studying. And then I graduated with a great GPA and I got hired at a good company.
Exactly. Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah, it kind of like boils down or comes back to that point of starting early, right? Just
Yes.
like we were saying at the very beginning. So yeah, you start early. Maybe you will have the advantage first of all of having the time to do that. For example, if I procrastinate on something, now I have just one day to, let's say, grade the exams, right? For instance, but I don't do it. I start earlier so that I have like several days to do that, and then the same kind of applies to, for example, like fitness life, right? So then you develop this kind of like good habits, you lay the foundation, and you see what kind of like works for you, and then you kind of like open to this sort of like limit for yourself, or not the limit, but the milestone that
Yes.
you can work twice a day,
Yes.
right? So and then in order to become, let's say, successful in say science, right, or like classes that you take at the university, you just shift the focus. Well, now you kind of like pay more attention to courses, but you can still continue to train, right, even if you have quite a bit of work to do, right?
Yep.
So, and then when you're going through the college, right, years, so yeah, you're able to kind of like, master that, graduate with great grades and GPA and get hired, right? So how was the kind of like combination of the training and studies for you at the kind of like various years of college?
So
One versus the fourth year, I would say.
I would say that my college experience was two things. It was like nobody else I knew,
Okay.
to the point where there was no college experience.
All right.
I can count on how many parties I went to on like
Right.
one hand
Yeah.
throughout my
Okay.
entire college experience, just because that's not what I was interested in.
Okay.
I never cared about that. I realized coming out of college, like, okay, it's not just about going and drinking and getting hammered. It's kind of like making
Yes.
friends, experience, being in social situations. But it's never been something that I prioritized. I just was focused on me. I strongly believe that when you're in college, between 18 and 21, that is like that's when your pubic stage of your stage of puberty is on a rocket ship.
Right.
It is the most accelerated that it will ever be. It's like it's trying to get from that point of growth where it's just starting, and because everything is just starting and everything is new in your body, it's a great change, because one is infinitely times higher than zero. Make sense?
Yeah.
But it's only a one difference.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like crazy, but it's not that much different. But between 18 and like 21, 22, that's where your body really starts to take off. And you need to
Okay.
utilize that as much as you possibly can.
So there is a window of opportunity.
There is a window,
Looks like.
the biggest window of opportunity. That is when your brain is the most plastic. That is
Okay.
why you're taking the hardest courses that you'll ever take in your life, because
okay,
you're able to figure it out.
That makes sense.
Your body is changing the most.
Yeah.
You have the most hormones. You're eating the most. Like that. Your time during college is the time where there's the opportunity to make the most profound changes in your life. I'm not saying
Yes.
that you're peaking in college. You can peak at 60 years old. It doesn't matter, because it's all
Okay.
about the mindset. but physically, the house that you live in
Yes.
is on a rocket ship. It's just waiting to be developed.
Exactly.
And I just never found any interest in it. You know, going to parties every single weekend, getting hammered every single weekend, like you're just setting yourself back. You know, you're setting yourself back mentally, you're setting yourself back physically. It was not something I was interested in. And I went to college for one purpose and one purpose only. It was to get that piece of paper. So that way after college, I could trade that piece of paper for time.
Yeah, exactly.
and get a different type of piece of paper.
Yeah.
Now I'm on a different goal. The different goal is to figure out how to exchange my earned income for passive income.
Yes.
Because I don't want to work until the day I die.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to set myself in situations where I make money when I sleep. And so that way I can eventually have multiple sources of income, not just one job that I'll be having.
Exactly.
So that's it's all about what you are focused on. And like I said, it's just you got to prioritize and you got to know why you're there. I have friends who are at college right now and they're like, oh, I don't want to be here, I'm not making any friends, like da da da. And I just tell them, I'm like, dude, you're not there to make friends. You're not there to go party. You're not there to do this.
Yeah.
The only reason college exists is for you to learn something. So just remember why you're there. That's literally what I would do. I would go to school, I would go to my class, I would go to the library, I would work out when I did, I'd go back to the library, I'd go home.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think my experience was kind of similar when I was doing my undergraduate degree. So I mostly went to the university in order to study, right? So gain knowledge. So that was kind of the main thing, right? So then we also had like multiple gyms and various, let's say, sports sections, as we would call it, right? So then I was swimming perhaps like 3 days a week, and then every other day I was going to the gym. So that was my typical kind of routine, and I was doing that about 6 days a week. So that was fine, but at the same time, I would say since I was prioritizing the studies, so because it was kind of not the easiest time to, not the easiest the courses that I was taking, right? So they required quite a bit of effort. So and then I had to kind of like develop like various auxiliary skills to catch up with the course progress. So yeah, as you were saying, so I had to set priorities. Okay, well, I will either study or I will go to the parties. So like, what takes precedent, right? So basically, I was thinking about the future. Okay, well now, for example, if I had the goal to, let's say, move to the US, for example, then well, I need to kind of like put more time into studies, maybe study the language, for instance, right? Which was not also like a skill I was profound at the time. So I had to allocate time for that. And then in terms of the parties, I think so we went I went 3 times to the bar in my college years, so I can also maybe count it on the fingers of my hands, and that's it. So yeah, but I think the results that I got, I was very happy with, and then even if I kind of missed out maybe on some socializing opportunities, but I still was able to make friends for kind of like life after that. Maybe not hundreds and dozens of them, but it was just enough, and then I would not say that I was suffering from loneliness because not going to the parties very often. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And when you are on a schedule on things that you take priority of, you will attract people that are on similar schedules.
Yeah, that's right.
People who are also on that grind. When I went to CCRI for my first 2 years, I met my best friends there. I met the same kids who were in the same exact position who chose not to go to the university for 2 years in order to get free tuition for 60 credits worth.
Okay.
Very brilliant kids, very driven, thinking about starting their own businesses, having their ideas, killing school, not taking easy classes. I found those kids, and we clicked, and we were very connected, and we're still clicked today. Same thing at URI. You know, you find kids who are on the same wavelength. They're there to fulfill their purpose on why they're there. So it all depends on the environment and your situation. If you do what you do, based on the laws of nature, you'll attract people who are on similar frequencies.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, the more people there are in the world, the more kind of like chances that you will encounter somebody who will, let's say, click with you, right? So your like views of the world Yeah, that's great. So I was thinking so about kind of the implementation of this procedure in which I would try to be successful in what I do at work, right, and also successful at training. So at some point, I think what was happening is that the muscle soreness so started kicking in, right? So when I had to kind of like work out intensely, maybe every day. So I think I was doing perhaps when I moved to the graduate school, right? So now I kind of like moved chronologically, more or less, right, from high school to and beyond, right? So I was also training on a daily basis. So I think I started my first years were, what was that? It was just going to the gym and then running. So these were my two main workout things, and I was swimming as well. So
Are the cameras still recording?
Yeah. So I think this one is recording. Let me see. Yeah. So we are in the recording mode. Okay. So we're half an hour in.
Okay.
So that probably needs to be cut out.
Because that one has a 30-minute timer. And
Okay.
It just finished.
So
I restarted it.
That's good. I think this one is kind of like infinite. So
Okay.
that's the new model. They used to have the 30-minute cutoff. So yeah. So I was doing that, kind of like training, and maybe I was training once a day, I think, again. So in the graduate school years, right? So because I also was taking several classes, but they were time consuming, at least in my book, right? I had to spend a lot of time on that. So yeah, I would study a lot, right, in the graduate school. Then training-wise, it was once a day I was going to the gym or the swimming pool or for a run. So that was feasible. But at some point what happened is that kind of the muscles, right, started kind of, I think, breaking down, as you were saying. And then maybe I didn't have like good recovery procedures, and then the time was busy. So, but I was trying to keep going, but in some cases I had to miss, let's say, a week or something, right? Take a week off training. So I think the biggest failure, I would say, of mine was to take a month off from training. So that kind of delayed me, put me back behind other people. So what would be kind of the good approaches to deal with this muscle soreness and bodily problems associated with training?
So yeah, recovery is just as important as training itself.
Right.
That's another thing that's like hugely or massively overlooked for college students. Students who are trying to go out and have as much fun and also keep up their studies. It usually comes down to three things. You know, how are your studies, how is your social life, and how is your sleep?
Yes.
One of them has to give.
Okay.
One of them has to give.
I see.
If you prioritize school and you prioritize hanging out with friends, you know what has to give? Your sleep.
Oh, okay.
If you prioritize sleep and studies, usually your social life has to give. If you
Yeah.
prioritize socializing and your sleep, you know what gives? Your grades. And that's a very risky line to walk. Sleep is so important. Sleep is literally probably one of the most overlooked things, not just for recovery, but everything. Your energy, your mental health, your recovery, how you feel, how you go about your days, your drive, how you operate. The brain, when you sleep, that is when the brain is able to kind of go within itself, really analyze what's going on in the body, because you don't think about what's going on in your body. You don't tell your stomach to start like gurgling. You don't tell white blood cells to be made, to white blood cells to attack. The brain is the master control center. Everything that goes on from your fingertips to your toes to your neck talks to the brain, and the brain is the master control center.
Yes.
That's what regulates everything.
Okay.
When you're awake, you have all your senses. You touch, you smell, you see, you hear, everything. Your brain is kind of preoccupied with navigating the world. Your brain is the joystick that controls the body as you go about your days. And it takes a lot of processing power for you to kind of operate and make sure everything is working properly, and you're feeling, you're smelling, you're seeing, all of that. There's the reason, and what's interesting is that people, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but people who are say blind or deaf, or they are losing a sense. They don't have all their senses. Usually, as a result of that, their other senses are heightened. So if someone is blind, they can usually hear and touch very well. That's why Braille. You ever touch Braille? You're like, how the hell do people kind of feel the differences of the dots.
That's right. Yeah.
If
To me,
they're-
it feels like bumps, but in their case, I think it's
They can feel-
compensation.
They can feel the patterns in it, and that's how they're able to identify. You know, people who that's just one example. So,
Right.
point is, it takes a lot of brain power to navigate this world when you're awake. When you're asleep and you're going through your REM cycles, that's where your brain can heavily focus all that processing power on what's going on inside. If your brain's only getting 1 to 2 REM cycles a night, it's not giving much time to kind of go through its necessary nightly check-ins with the body.
Right.
Make sure everything is going properly. You know, Mike, have you ever heard of Mike O'Hearn?
I don't think so.
He's a huge bodybuilder.
Okay.
Super fucking good. Like 270, you know.
Oh, wow.
270
Yeah.
shredded.
Impressive.
And like he's devoted his entire life to fitness. His entire life. Like literally when he started working out, like 13, he's like 40 now. And he looks like that. Everyone says that he takes steroids because like he's literally bigger than guys who take steroids, and he looks better than them. I'm not gonna throw my opinion in on whether he does or doesn't.
Okay.
But he backs up all of his points of him being natty is that he's literally lived a extremely restricted, dedicated life to just fitness and building muscle. So I credit that to him. He has done everything he has done, everything he has needed, where if that's what it took to have a body like that naturally, he's done it.
Yes.
He missed out in his young 20s, and just like how you and I did a little bit, in the sense of like he just focused on that one thing. He didn't care about anything else. He didn't care about the partying. He didn't care about this. And he was bringing up these points when people were calling him out, like, how do you not take steroids? How do you look how you look now and not take steroids? He goes, well, it doesn't just come down to what you're doing right now. It comes down from all the way back to the very beginning. Some examples were, how much alcohol were you drinking? You know, in your like late teens, early 20s, 30s. How much alcohol was affecting you? How was your sleep? How was the quality of your diet? All those things. He was hitting bullseyes at every single point along the way.
Okay.
That guy has done, the only other example I could think is like, Jesus Christ came and he fulfilled his mission to the T.
Yes.
His whole life was dedicated to just, there was not one slip up. That's why he's considered like this savior, this prophet. He didn't have one slip up throughout his entire life. In terms of fitness, and getting to where he is now, Mike O'Hearn kind of is like Jesus in that aspect, where he fulfilled his purpose in terms of building muscle every single step along the way. The guy never slipped up. The guy doesn't even fucking know what candy tastes like, you know? So he's done everything he needs to do that. That's why I kind of give him that benefit of the doubt. But like I said, I'm not really throwing my opinion in because I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's great. So that's a very good point. So yeah, that kind of makes me think about the life. So if you think about like chemistry terms, right? There's going to be the volume, right, which the gas, if you let it, will occupy, right? So and then you can put lots of like different, let's say, gas molecules, which would be okay, partying, and then I don't know, chocolate, for example, alcohol, drugs, and so on and so on. And then eventually there will be like no volume left, or maybe very little for fitness, for example. And the person, I literally know a person who was at URI for some time, so I won't be calling the names. So, but like this person went to the gym only once a year, and that's what I saw, literally. And then that never happened again. So we were making plans. Okay, let's go to the gym, but never happened. So yeah, because that person decided to have like other priorities, let's say, right? It's not necessary that they were like bad, but that's what happened, and then you just cannot physically put everything into your kind of like life volume. So if you wanna like do that, right, do something good, then you need to make the priorities and then kind of like get rid of the stuff that occupies it. So just like the same with social media, I guess. Yeah, okay.
And I'm not saying that in order to see changes, there's only one way of doing it. We've been using like these guys as examples who are just solely dedicated. Their entire lives are revolved around like gym and proper diet.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. There's many different ways to
extreme
live.
example.
Yes, they're extreme examples. But it's almost as if you should look at the people who live those extreme lifestyles and use them as examples. You know, you see someone who is like marathons ahead of an idea that you're thinking about, kind of marathons ahead down a road that you're thinking about going down.
Yes.
You see how much progress, how much distance they've covered. Why would you not look at that person and see, okay, this is what he's doing, why would I not copy it to the best of my abilities?
Yeah.
You know, to the best, and just use your own logic and use your own reason. Pick up their patterns. What are they doing? What have they learned in their 30 years that maybe you could apply a couple things to? I always believe that you can learn anything from anyone. You know, there's always something to learn from everyone that you talk to. So you should always look at people who are experts in whatever thing you're considering, and just see like, okay, what did they do? And then you're able to evaluate. You can see what they're doing, and is this something that I'm willing to start to implement? Maybe not working out. Maybe working out's not for you. Maybe dedicating your life to running, or maybe yoga, or maybe swimming, or picking up a sport, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, whatever it may be. So, and you find those things that fit you best, and you prioritize that.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds completely doable, I think. So, and if I think back to my examples, right, or the people I know, so it did take some time to just build that habit, right, of doing, let's say, some sort of exercise, right? So it could be like a specific sport, right? Lots of people I know, for example, they, let's say, do some form of martial arts, right? And then that will also require discipline and regimen to do that over a long period of time. So yeah, there is some time that you need to spend on habit building, just to kind of like spend maybe those proverbial 21 days or something like that. So yeah, and then things become easier. So I think also another important point in my case was just to do research to see how kind of things work. For example, if you want to choose some sport and train it, so yeah, maybe learn from the experts actually, right? So yeah, because we all know if we pick some kind of sport that we want to practice, there is going to be a star or the person who, yeah, as you were saying, right, that guy achieved like immense success, right? Bodybuilding, for example. So yeah, then try to get some of their practices and incorporate them in your life. Maybe not necessarily 100%, because yeah, you might become just like them, right? In this case, if you just have a sole focus on, let's say, bodybuilding, right? And then the other things, such as like graduate school, for instance, will just go south, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but in my case, I would kind of like what I've been trying to do is just scale down to like my situation, some of the best practices from the people who are top of the chain, let's say, or food chain, right, in their respective field. And then yeah, so that was generally applicable, and then I could see the difference, maybe like not right away, but it was taking some time, but then things started to take off. But yeah, so alongside with that, so it did require me to make some priorities, to set the priorities right in life, right, on a weekly basis, for instance, what I should do. So that did require some sacrifices to be made, but I think it's all to the better. So yeah, if you kind of like want to become better, then yeah, there will be some struggle.
We need struggle in our life.
Yeah.
Struggle is kind of what gets that fire going on under your ass. Because if everything was easy, it would really be. When everything is easy, you don't appreciate it.
Yes.
You don't appreciate things when they come easy to you. A great example is like when I graduated college and was looking for a job. My older brother basically set me up with an interview.
Right.
Like it's almost like not that I didn't want it, but he got it for me.
Okay.
So
yeah.
And because of that, I never understood how sometimes difficult it is to even land the interview.
Okay.
So I went into the interview like totally unprepared. Even though I tried to prepare, like I didn't know what to expect. And then as usual, I ended up bombing the interview.
Right. Yeah.
And then after 4 or 5 months of moving my own ass, applying to my own jobs, having my own interviews, I eventually landed a job realizing, okay, that's what it took. That's what it took to get that first job coming out of college.
Oh yeah.
And it makes you appreciate it so much more.
Exactly.
You know, there's days where I don't want to go in, but I realize, motherfucker, you worked for this thing for 4 years,
Right.
or for 4 years in college, and then you had to spend 4 months sitting at home trying to fucking get in here. You're gonna go to work and you're gonna be grateful and you're gonna do all the shit that you got to do to keep that job and learn
Yeah.
as much as you can.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think in my case, yeah, I did not have the situations. Well, I did have a situation one when the interview was just kind of like set up by another person that I knew, right? So that was kind of easy to get to that interview and then to get the position eventually. But I didn't stay there for a long time because I think maybe, yeah, actually that's exactly what happened, because I didn't have much of the appreciation for that opportunity, and then I didn't end up staying for a long time at that position, so I just quit right at some point. So yeah, but then when I was spending the time, okay, like every day, let's say over the course of 3 months on average, so that's how much time it was taking me to find other jobs, right? And then every day I would be kind of like submitting some applications for various jobs, and then I finally have the interview at the kind of like great company and then start working with them. So there, that time I had much more appreciation to what I earned. So yeah, and then I think
Let's stay on
yeah.
this. Let's stay on this topic of appreciation.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's something that is greatly overlooked as we go about our days, as humanity goes about
Appreciation.
our days.
Okay.
I think we're living in a day and age where there's
Right.
an extreme lack of appreciation. Extreme lack.
Okay.
We're living in a time where, because everything comes so easy to us with our phones, technology is literally, you have access to the biggest data bank, like our minds could even fathom.
Oh yeah.
In your fingertips. And we can pull up any question. Anytime there's a question, you think of the weirdest question you could think of.
Yes.
You know, why is there 7 days in a week? Google.
Mhm.
You know, you got
Yeah,
an answer.
exactly.
So this lack of appreciation, I feel like, is causing a lot of turmoil in the country today, because when we look at the golden era, have you ever heard of the golden era or the golden generation? This is this is the generation that grew up during World War II.
Okay.
So basically, like, you're my age, you know, between like 18 and 25, like heat in the middle of the war.
Exactly.
They're considered the golden generation because they had to grow up. They had to grow up. They woke up every single day so appreciative because so many of them had to go. A lot of them didn't come back.
Yes.
The ones who stayed had to work their asses off to provide, because we were in war. We weren't in like a position where the government was just handing money to us.
Yes.
So we had to go work. We had to go suffer. And then the work, the fruits of your labor from suffering, you appreciate them so much more.
Okay. Yeah.
And it causes you to grow. It causes you to grow. All those people were forced to grow very quickly, which is a little unfortunate. But as a result, they gained a lot of wisdom. They gained a lot of life experience.
Yes.
And they were able to reap the fruits of their labor. They were able to learn foundational skills for their life: how to work hard, how to manage themselves, how to prioritize time. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So being appreciative allows you to take things a little bit slower and really enjoy life.
Okay.
By taking things slower, you kind of observe your surroundings. You observe what you're doing. You know, you are able to recognize and identify things that you are doing that may not be useful. Marcus Aurelius, in a book that I'm reading, Meditations, he talks about an idea of you need to do less, and as a result of doing less, you're able to do more. We're in this day and age where we have so much going on. We have so much. Everyone has 5-6 projects going on. Then you have your social life. Then you have this. Then you have that. When you cut out some of those things, you're able to focus more on doing less on those less things. Instead of doing 5, 6, 7 things, you focus on 2 to 3. You can do more on those, and you appreciate them more because you're seeing the results of your labor go further in those fewer things. And it's almost like you're gaining more distance rather than spreading out all your energy across this broad spectrum. You're honing in on a few things.
Yes.
And you're able to hyper focus and gain a lot of distance on them. And then
Absolutely.
yeah, it just comes down to appreciating.
Yeah, that is true. So yeah, I was thinking, back in the day, let's say when I was growing up, right, as a let's say teenager, so we did not have any social media at that point, and then I just had less things to do compared with the situation currently, right? So I would have like much more, let's say, outlets, right? Okay, well, yeah, social media applications. Or something else, whatever it could be, maybe not Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So let's just kind of like bring up that example. And then I felt like, yes, it was less things to do, but because I was spending more time on them, I was investing more effort into something, whatever it could be, maybe like reading a book, for example, or working on some project at home. I felt like I did appreciate it more. And then now, so yeah, if you think about that, if you have lots of things on your hand or on your plate, rather than you would just be spreading your energy on them, and then there will be just a little bit of the effort put into like everything that you do.
Yes.
So which is not really kind of like the optimal way to go about life. And then maybe yes, you need to again go back to your prioritization and sacrificing, cutting some things out. So which again, I think that's what I caught myself at and started doing. And then yeah, that was hard to part ways with something, right? So for example, let's say I was practicing some sort of activity, right? Whatever it could be, some sort of sport, right? But then I felt like, okay, well, it takes too much time, for example, and I can't spend that time on the things that really matter. So yeah, but then I had to cut that knot. That was difficult at the beginning or at the moment of cutting and parting ways with that activity. But then eventually I felt more liberated right away, and then yeah, kind of things became better overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I think another thing where people can get caught and then maybe they are addicted to something, right? Maybe social media.
Yep.
So and then it's kind of like not that easy to part ways with that, but yeah, eventually you will get in the clear. It's just like in the movie, you have some sort of problem, but then the resolution comes in, and then the kind of like happier ending ensues.
What I often think of is, how do you think you would have developed if you were never exposed to social media? I can probably only count on like one hand how many people I know in my circle of life who don't have any social medias whatsoever. No Facebook,
Yes.
no Instagram, no nothing. They don't have any of it. And meeting those people, instantly I knew that they were different. Like they weren't weird or anything, but I was just
Right,
like
okay.
it's like it was almost strange to me how they were so productive.
Right.
They were so
Okay.
like it's like whenever their brain needed something to kind of like to pull away and
Yes.
de-stress, get away from whatever work they were doing, they would just do something like they would go on a walk, or maybe they would read a book.
Yes.
Or like they just don't waste time like how we do. Like I would say kids especially in college, and including me now, and I don't know maybe about you, but I waste like multiple hours every single day. And what I define as waste is something where I am not doing anything and letting my brain just kind of tune out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least
Yes.
a productive day for me is like 2 hours of doing that. Like worst days can go
Okay.
it can hit between like 4 or 5.
Oh wow.
So it's
Yeah,
like
that's a lot.
just think about all those hours where you're just like
It's a compound
Like,
effect of
think
badness.
think about
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, think about
Yeah.
after work, like after an entire week, like that's at least a day. That's
Right.
like you really only you were only living 6 out of that 7 days. Like that's
Yes.
at least one of those days you were just tuned out completely.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
it
right.
makes you think like, what am I doing? You know, what am I doing? I'm just sitting there wasting my time
Yes.
tuning out. So being able to prioritize, just minimize how much you're doing, and just remind you, like, and I'm not saying you have to be working every single minute of every single day, It's actually, I've heard people say to block off times in your schedule of doing nothing. Because it allows your brain to kind of pull away from the work and go do something else. But when I say nothing, nothing is kind of a synonym for not work. Go do something you enjoy. Go do something that you don't have to think about what your next step is or what's the next move. It's just allowing your brain to kind of return to you, like return to itself. You know, let it wander for a little bit. Read a book, go for a walk, do some exercise if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
And then living that very balanced life where there's only, like, we like simplicity. We like simplicity. Let's take a plate of food. What do you typically need on a plate of food? Fats, carbs, protein.
Yeah.
You don't need amino acids and a thermogenic burner and some peptides and some this and some that and then mix it all together. Like, no. Keep it simple. 1, 2, 3. Keep your day simple. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, everything's gonna work out.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna work out. We stress out so much. People are stressing about, you know, what's going on here, what's going on there.
Yes.
Marcus Aurelius is a great, delivers a great message on, you know, just know that time is precious. Time is the most precious thing in the world. If you had if you could be the richest person in the world, you can't buy any more time. You just can't. It's the one thing that you can't get more of in this world. You literally cannot. There's no way possible. So, utilize it. Respect its value.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say. Respect its value. But don't throw it around. Don't throw it around. Just do things that you believe that you're purposed for. Things that really intrigue you. So if you you're heavy into the chemistry, intellectually hit that, because that's what you like. You like the judo?
Yeah. That's a great sport. Yeah, judo, jiu-jitsu, martial arts. So
all the martial arts.
Yeah.
You like that, you do that.
Exactly.
And then the few things that you like to do outside of that, there you go. When you have those days where you're not wasting time, mindlessly letting your brain kind of shut off, and you have breaks between your schedule, but for the most part your day goes 1, 2, 3, you finally sit down on the couch at the end of the day, or you're de-stressing, you lay down in bed, how do you feel? You feel so fucking good.
Yeah.
You feel so good.
Yeah.
You feel like you had a great productive day, you hit all the bullseyes that you needed to. On days where you're scattered here, you're scattered there, you kind of only did half of this and you started that and didn't really finish it.
Yeah.
You just wound yourself up, and then that's it. There was nothing really completed.
Exactly. And then I feel like at this point you will also not physically have enough time to appreciate all those things that you do, right? Sometimes I feel like, okay, well, there was 15 things on the list, I did them all, but then I just feel tired, and then okay, well, they are done, maybe they had to be done. So, but oftentimes it's just kind of like there's no appreciation to what I have done. But yeah, at some point it's like some kind of pesky paperwork, it had to be done, now it's good, right?
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that. It's like something off my shoulders, right? So, but if it's less things, then I feel like I'm more involved. So that's where I'm at, and then I can be there more present and be in the now and appreciate what's happening. Be that, for example, a judo practice, right? So it's an hour, that's at least a week. That's what I'm trying to do now, kind of like getting back to that routine. And then it's only judo for an hour, right? Then 2 hours of, let's say, only jiu-jitsu, and then nothing else. I can appreciate it very well. And then before then it was a day full of, let's say, chemistry, right? Either teaching or research activities, depending on the season. So yeah, and I feel like, it's kind of like much better that way. Even if I also noticed that, I physically, again, do not have enough time to watch Netflix, for instance, because now I'm tired, so I need to go to bed and recover.
Well, we all have chaotic days. We live in a chaotic world.
Yes.
Our human nature is chaos.
Yeah.
There's too many examples throughout history and in stories where as soon as you leave human or man up to his own doings, he immediately takes the first left. And it just goes down chaos.
Yeah.
So we kind of are we relish in that environment. That's kind of how we so in a weird way, it's how we got to where we are today.
Yeah.
You know, because so there's nothing wrong with having that, but with prolonged chaos, it creates inconsistency. It creates anxiety.
Right.
It creates all these things where you're racing. It's almost like you're on a standstill bike where you're pedaling as fast as you can, but then you're not really going anywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
So by really slowing down, and so sometimes there are times where you do have to kind of pedal as fast as you can. You know, you have to grind stuff out because we live in a world where there's deadlines and things need to be done.
Yes.
And there's things that are waiting on the next step. So there's times where you got to put it into fifth gear and you got to move along.
Exactly.
But that steady state of progression, that y equals x, linear progression, where it's just constant, it's steady, and you're constantly moving up. It's very good to go back to that 1, 2, 3. You know.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. It's as simple as it can be, and that's as soon as I started implementing that. That's when I really started to kind of calm down. That's when I started to go about my days. Like, if you have a relaxing day, great. That's a blessing. You should be grateful for that. Just make sure you hit that 1, 2, 3. You finish that 1, 2, 3 by 4 o'clock. Enjoy the day.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be days where that 1, 2, 3 is gonna work you until midnight, work you until 11 o'clock.
Yes.
So that kind of brings up another idea of like people we're based on what your interests are, you know, what you're seeing on social media. You're always seeing these people work as hard as you can, work until you die, work. So you get into this mindset where like I'm not allowed to relax.
Okay.
Like I can't relax because there's people working and I gotta work. And then when you find yourself relaxing, you're so tensed up and you're so worried about relaxing that you can't relax. What is relaxing? Relaxing is what were we talking about earlier with repairing the muscle?
Recovery. Yeah.
Relaxing is recovery.
Okay.
It allows you to kind of pull out. You ever not?
I could say it's like a mental maybe recovery, right? I could maybe like concentrate myself on just like drinking the tea, for example.
Yes.
Brew the tea. It's gonna be some sort of like sleepy time tea, and I can inhale its aroma, drink it, read the book, for example. So yeah, that's all I'm thinking about. I don't think about any other processes that are happening. So yeah, that's how I would think about that, because if I like think all the time, then like, my brain becomes maybe overwhelmed, and I achieve some sort of like bandwidth capacity of the brain where it can like take in only that much thinking and not more. So, but yeah, sometimes there are periods, okay, well, there's frantic thinking, order of operations, I need to make sure that everything is good, there is a tight deadline, so I need to open the door, kind of distribute the copies and start the exam or a quiz and then give some presentation, coordinate people. So, but it doesn't happen kind of all the time, and then yeah, I can find the time at the end of the day to relax. Yeah, recover the brain just like the muscles.
That's another. Yeah, the brain is very important. The brain is not a muscle, but I wish it was classified as a muscle.
Yeah.
That way it would make like talking about it much easier. But that's something that I definitely begun to prioritize in the past couple of years. Is that working out your brain is just as important, if not more important, than working out your muscles. Because like where we got today, like your body is stronger than you think it is. You know, muscles aren't everything. Muscles, for the most part, are an aesthetic. You know, how do we build buildings today? We don't carry 1,000-pound beams up with our muscles. We used our brain to build a crane that can carry that 1,000-pound beam up 50 stories. So, working out your muscles is really more about feeling good, and being proud of yourself, and visually seeing your hard work, you know, in the mirror. It's also very good for us. When we work out, your brain releases all these good feeling hormones. Your brain actually releases cannabinoids, which is the same chemical for THC. Very, very small amounts, but it releases these chemicals that make you feel really good. You know, when you accomplish something physically difficult. Because think about it evolutionarily. when we had to build houses out of trees around us, when we had to go hunt for our
Hunt,
food,
for example. Yeah.
when
yeah,
we
that's
had
right.
to do physically strenuous tasks
Mhm.
just to survive.
Right.
Why would the brain not kind of trick its vehicle into liking to do that? Why would it make it feel worse to go do that? Make sense?
Mm.
So in order to get to where we've had today, like there had to be a lot of physical strenuous activities just for us to get to where we are.
Yes.
And we live in a day and age where everything is very easy for us now. Very easy for us. Like things we literally the name of the game for technology is how can we make it easier? How can we make it more convenient?
Right.
Everything is at the fingertips.
Mhm.
You know, we have food delivered to our door now. You don't even need to leave your house. We have food delivered to your door. We have Amazon bringing you shit to your front door.
Exactly.
You can work from home. Like you can live in a house, and for an entire year we have set up on a society where you will never have to step outside and or see sun, and like so it's important to use it properly, but don't indulge in it because when you overindulge in it, we're living in a digital age that is very new. You know, it's not that it's going against our biology, but it's not supporting our biology. We humans are designed to go outside. They're designed to feel the sun. They're designed to get dirt on their hands.
Right.
You know, so by kind of overly embracing our developments that we have in our current age, it's biologically the body is almost it gets confused. We're wondering why we have all these weird diseases, you know,
Mhm.
this spike in mental illness, the spike in chronic illness. It's because we have new things that the human body has never experienced before.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and it's not just its experience, it's that it's experiencing on a daily basis now. And then we're trying to combat the symptoms instead of trying to go to the root cause.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's just similar to the application of the stress, right, to the chemical reactions. So that will be out of equilibrium.
Yeah.
Just like you would think about the human body being in some sort of homeostasis, right?
Mhm.
When it's in the proper contact with the nature and then some intellectual activities, but now you have the stress in the form of, let's say, social media or technology, cell phones,
Yep.
and so on. So then, yeah, like it's entirely conceivable that your life will be out of whack, and then
We're sitting there scratching our
Yeah.
heads, wondering why.
That's right. Yeah, and then you will have all those kind of like diseases. Just like if you think about maybe some sort of like an example of withdrawal from alcohol. So this alone can bring about quite a bit of distress on the body, right?
Yep.
So and then, but yeah, that's how this happens. But if you think about a more complex problem, then yeah, you would expect some more complex kind of like issues associated with the overindulgence into the phone, right? So yes, you will be kind of less productive because you spend more time on just being on the phone, right, all the time, and then you will also have a worse posture, for example, than you would be having without using the phone too much. So yeah, the ramifications are basically endless.
I think we ran out of things to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we achieved the good points. So yeah, let's take a look at the phone, and it's been just about an hour. So yeah, awesome.
Okay.
All right. Well,
It was
excellent.
Great talk. We should do this again.
Nice talking,
I feel like
Jacob.
we
Yeah,
have
tremendous.
I feel like we have many more points to talk about.
Yeah, I think we started like well with those kind of fundamental things in life. So yeah, and then this will be like a segue to more specialized things to talk about. Awesome. Great. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will provide the links to social media, which you should use mindfully, actually, to check out Jacob's project on Top Fitness 401, right? So that's the official name, and many other supplementary materials which will make your life better, as we are confident. So yeah, well, give Jacob a follow as well on social media, support his project, and this will be excellent for all the parties involved. So well, thank you for tuning in, and Bye everyone.
That camera turned off.
Let's turn off. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Here then.
I need to figure out
Okay.
a way to
That